Hi, I'm Rob Leigh. I'm a letterer on such titles as Ghost Machines Geiger, DC Comics JSA, Batman, and you're on Splash Pages.
Sword of Honor, come to my hand. I, Lion-O, command it. Thundercats, ho! And you're watching the Dorkening.
Hey, happy Tuesday, everybody. You are watching Splash Pages. My name is Leigh. I'm the monkey behind the keyboard here. We have an awesome show scheduled for you and an amazing guest. And, a ton of people watching. So if you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in the comments there. And without further ado, we'll push it over to Carrie. How's it going?
Hey, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Splash Pages. It is going great. Radatosker and I are here to hang out. I'm so excited about the interview today. Oh, my goodness. I'm going crazy. Oh, and Hinata just decided to join us as well. So all the mascots coming. I've been going crazy planning a 24-hour helping plan a 24-hour show that we're doing this weekend over with Owlite. So move on to somebody else because I'm a nutcase.
Jar Jar.
Hey, it's Tuesday night and we got a pretty dope show put together. I'm kind of excited too, Leo. We might as well move it right along over to Drew and get our guests out here because this is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, hell yeah. Mr. Drew. Dude, wake up. Come on.
Oh my God, is it Tuesday? What year is it? Oh, it's Tuesday. All right, hold on. Hey everybody. Hi, I'm Drew. Welcome to Splash Pages. And it's Tuesday. And you know what that T stands for? It's Tortellini night. But while I enjoy this, because I'm dying slowly, we have a wonderful guest on. There's a chance that if you read comic books, you've probably read something that he's lettered. Because every comic book needs an amazing team of people behind it to really make it pop. And that could be an inker, that could be a colorist, and this time a letterer. So everybody, the great, the wonderful man with a million stories, Mr. Rob Leigh.
Yeah.
Hey, folks.
There we go.
How's it going, sir?
How is everybody?
Oh, pretty good. Are you enjoying the winter weather over in Jersey?
I wish it were colder, and I wish we had more snow. I'm a cold weather guy.
Really?
Yeah.
I know you're a hunter. Do you do deer hunting and all that this time of year?
I haven't gone deer hunting in a few years, but yeah, I do like deer hunting. I do a lot of bird hunting, pheasant hunting in particular.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God. My relatives would love you. Oh my God. They're all from PA, so they very much know the hunting days.
Yeah, that's deer country there.
Oh yes.
We've gone to plenty of a convention over where you are. Like you're in a prime spot for cons.
Oh yeah.
Where is he?
I'm
sorry, I'm asleep.
Yeah, I'm in North Jersey, so I'm within driving distance of Manhattan.
Oh wow, yeah, he is. There's a ton of great New Jersey cons. That's amazing.
Yeah, like we used to hit Walker Stalker all the time there. Monster Mania, obviously New York Comic Con. HeroCon is there too, right?
I think East Coast Comic Con down in
East Coast
Jersey
Comic
as well.
Con,
Yeah, but you know what's the crazy thing is? I've been going to cons for like over 10 years, and I swear, Rob, I don't think I've been at a con where I've seen your table because I know I would have been one of those guys. I was like, oh hi.
I've never done. In fact, the first con that I ever worked was this past fall with the Ghost Machine booth at the New York convention.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I kind of keep to myself in my own little corner of the world here, but I'm getting out more.
So how did you enjoy that con sitting in the table at Ghost Machine?
That was a great time. Yeah, we've got a great team. So we were there for a week. So we were there for a few days ahead of the convention because this was the first time we were all in the same room together. And that will be
promotion. Shameless promotion and support.
Oh, we got to read the first issue there, and I'm in on almost every story, I think, in the book.
Oh, yeah. He's going to have to work twice as hard to be able to afford all those new titles now.
Yeah. It's kind of messed up.
If we're showing
Otherwise,
off,
you'd be like,
right?
"What are you doing?"
Why
I
are you?
got
Oh
the
Why
wow!
do you make
deal.
comics good?
Carrie got the chromium cover.
Yes, I
Oh
did.
yeah, Carrie got the chrome cover. Look at that!
Oh,
Look at that straight up blinder.
yeah. What's the other one you got there, Carrie?
This one they thought they didn't have it for me. It's the cover J. That's how many covers you guys have. I love
Yeah,
it,
I
but I
think we
don't
went up to
have
M on
a
this one.
pocketbook to afford you.
Um,
Yeah, this is
Hyde Street.
the Hyde.
Oh
Hyde-
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, Ivan's cover.
Hyde Street.
She's a
Spooky
big
cover
horror
is what I
fan.
call it. Yeah,
Yeah, he knocked it out of the park with that.
I'm very much looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
That story's going to be awesome.
So, how did you first get into actually? How did you get to become a letterer, like that of all things, like in the comic industry? Because I know you do art as well, right?
Yeah, I started out in '92. I know the bio was a little. There's some errors there, but I actually started in '92. I started as a freelance production artist for DC.
Ah.
Because I went to the Kubert School and I knew how to letter, I knew how to draw, and so I would go there for the week, and then at the end of the week, I'd ask my supervisor, Rick Taylor, who had also, I think he was in the first Kubert School class. So on Fridays I go in there, I said, "Do you need me on Monday?" And if he said yes, I'd come back on Monday, and if he said no, I'd come back on Monday. So this was before 9/11, so security wasn't a big thing. So I would just walk into the building like it had my name out in front. And eventually they said this guy's not going anywhere, so I was hired on staff.
Nice.
But so we did art corrections, lettering corrections, and then early on, the fellow that was sitting next to me, somehow during his lunch break, he lost a page of Deathstroke. And the book had to go out the following day.
Oh, man.
And Rob Simpson, who was the editor at the time, was familiar enough from my work from doing corrections on his book. And he says, "Look, I have the Xerox of the pencils. Do you think you can ink this tonight?" And I said, "Sure." So I took it home. I blew it out, brought it back the next day, and the book went out. And that kind of got around the office. So I started inking pages here and there, and eventually I was inking full books while I was still on staff. So I'd work all day in the city. I'd commute back home to Jersey, and then I'd stay up all night because I would have the same deadline as full-time freelancers. And I did that until I went freelance. After about 3 years, I went freelance strictly inking. And so I did that for about 10 or 11 years. But I got a lot of books. I was kind of known as a fireman. A book was late. They needed somebody to put out the fire. Right. So a lot of editors, Pete Tomasi being one of my editors, would have a stable of guys that they could go to turn things around. So I cranked out a lot of pages, and I've got nerve damage in my hand from doing that. So I can't. I hold the brush within 10 minutes. I'm numb from my elbow to my fingertips. Wow. But around that time, DC was starting up the in-house lettering program. And I'd kind of set feelers out saying that I was ready to pivot and possibly come back to work on staff. And as it turns out, the guy who was heading the department, Nick Napolitano, along with Kenny Lopez, Nick was a classmate of mine at the Kubert School, and he says, I need a guy that I can trust. I said, "Nick, I know how to letter, but digital lettering is something different." But I learned quickly, made it through the interview, and I became their first hire. So I just pivoted, and I love it. I had worked with text in the past before I was in comic books. I worked in advertising, so I have an affection for working with fonts, with typefaces, with design, trying to tell a story with text. So it was just sometimes things work out the way they're supposed to if you allow that to happen.
Oh yeah.
And so for the last 20 plus years, I've been lettering.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
What's a typical day like for you? Like get up, mosey around the house, and then bust out some pages? Or
Yeah, I mean, I get up. I'm not a coffee drinker, so I get up. I hop in the shower, and then I'm up here in my studio, and just start working. And I work all day long. Wife comes home. You know, we spend a little time together, watch a little TV till she goes to bed, and then I might come back up into the studio and do a little bit more work.
yeah.
But strictly Monday through Friday these days. I used to work 7 days a week. I'd be putting in 16-hour days, but I keep regular business hours.
So Jonathan's asking, has lettering moved on to digital, or is it still traditional?
I'll tell you one thing. Jonathan there was a former student of mine from when I taught at the Kubert School.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm in touch with it. I still got my boys out there. It's been a long time since I taught there, but there's a few dozen of these guys. They're tremendous people. It is primarily digital. There are a few people who do conventional hand lettering, but it's certainly with the major companies, it's digital. Some people that self-publish, more the indies might do hand lettering, but it's predominantly digital lettering.
Mm-hmm. Now you sorry, go for it, Carrie.
I was gonna say, could you explain a little bit to people, because we were talking about it a while ago about hand lettering, and with the consistency of the fonts, there were, I mean, some people would design fonts, but there were little stencils and things, right? Where it would be.
I thought you guys actually sat there, wrote it in.
Well, in some cases, yeah. Like
no, hand lettering is drawn by hand. They're back in the 40s or 50s. Like Mad Magazine used it for a while, where they had there was a Leroy. It was called the Leroy system, where you would have it was like a template that had each letter was kind of routed out, and the pen had a stylus, and then it had the ink point, and you would trace and move that template around. So as it rode in the grooves of the template, the pen would then draw the letter. It was very tedious. It was used more in architecture, and they brought it. I guess it was back in the William Gaines days that they brought it in there. But you would generally not see that in comics. It was always hand lettering. A lot of them were newspapermen, and they were hand letterers. Wow. So it was dipping a pen in ink and drawing it out. You would have a tool called an Ames guide where you'd rule your guidelines, and then but you would letter by hand.
Wow.
Awesome. Back in the early aughts, I used to be in the sign industry for a short time, and there was one guy locally that still did all the lettering by hand, and like we're using the vinyl cutters to cut it and everything.
Yeah,
and just watching him work was friggin' masterpiece. You know,
they were art. I mean, they were their own type of artist. They were show card artists. And then the sign painters would have a big brush, and they were able to maintain that control on a big scale. Yeah, incredible artists.
Yeah, totally.
Now you're a fan of Comic Craft fonts, correct?
I primarily use theirs. I use some of Nate's fonts at Blambot as well, but most of the stuff I do is with Comic Craft.
Okay. And have you ever designed your own? Like
I've designed one. I haven't taken the software to actually make it a functional font, but I create my own sound effects, and I have again, I haven't put them into a font program. I just kind of have them off to the side, and I can pull the individual letters for the time. But I'll do that at some point. It's something you would need for a very specific project. And at this point, for these past 20 years, I'm like, why reinvent the wheel? Those fonts are out there. They're John Rochelle at Comic Craft does a great job. Nate does a great job. So I use what they have. I can tailor them to my projects.
There are a couple specific ones that I just associate in my head now with you, and I'm not exactly sure what they are. One of them I think is like Ladonna, maybe that you use a lot on the
Oh,
or the
Ladron I use for. I think I might use that one. Some of the lettering, some of the body copy, the balloon fonts, I like to use in sound effects. They have a kind of a bounce to it. I'm not sure if I use Ladron as a body font, but I do have my
I
go-tos.
just yeah, there's and it might be wrong because the way I do it is, like, oh, let me pull up this. Oh, this was something I want. Okay, this is some of the stuff I was preparing. What I really liked that you did here, is if you guys are watching, this is you guys are watching, of course you are. Batman, the man who left, and the way you put the blam blam, and you like framed the Joker's head every time he shoots. It's not Nobody else does that, just Joker. So I got the screens before, but then I put them together easier here so that you can see kind of. But everybody else, like, oh, it's off on the side, and I'm pointing at things that you can't really see. But did you do that? I mean, was that purposeful to set him aside? And
Yeah, I mean, because sound effects, yes, they denote the sound, but they're also artistic elements on the page. So you can use them to isolate the action, to draw attention to a certain area. So they have a physical presence that helps move the reader's eye across the page. You want them to land on certain spots.
And with movement, exactly as you're saying that, Leo, if you want to pop up the next one. This also, I just loved how all the different, yes, they're all rooms, but I was tearing apart some of the different rooms that you did, and all of them show motion on that just, I'm following the Batmobile as it's going around in these things. I love how you do that. It's, I don't know if there's anything really to talk about with it, but I just think it's a great technique, especially if the top one, the two with the blue rooms, initially it was on the top of the side and it goes down, but they just kind of roll into each other. So you're just watching the Batmobile as it moves from one place to the next. And you're very good with that.
Well, they're storytelling elements, right? So they're not just sounds on the page. You want them to marry with the art as well. So if for example, that one in the upper left-hand corner, if I arrange that room differently, it might conflict with the motion of the car. So you want to support the art. You don't want to work counter to it.
That is cool.
Everything's done. Every decision is done for the reader's benefit. They're in my mind the whole time. And you have to understand, as a letterer, we have a unique position in that we are the first person who sees that marriage of words and art. So, if you're doing your job, you're making the reader's experience better. You're helping to clarify some of the storytelling. And as John says there, color choices. Sure, color choices are important too.
Yeah.
I tend to use warm colors for action. Purples for magic effects. There's a psychology of color that you apply.
This one I pulled up and put two together, one from the JSA as well as one from the Batman, and this is all the thinking boxes. I forgot the word.
Yeah,
I like
captions. Just
captions, but I like how you have you're able to show. It's easy for people to follow the story because you have up top there, Commissioner Gordon is in yellow, and he has a very specific writing style, very neat. And I went to school and learned how to write my letters, And then Batman instead has this gray and kind of a nice flowy script going on, but still very tight like he would be. And that made it really easy to go through those comics. And then if you go over here, this is where I fell in love with you. You helped me understand the JSA stuff so well, because there were like 30 people or something like that in each issue going on. And having and I know that you aren't the only person who does this, but having the individual colors as well as the symbol of who is speaking or thinking or whatever really helped the reader going on. I know, like you were saying, that's for the reader's benefit, but those in particular I just really loved. And
yeah, again, you know, I see myself as kind of an advocate for the reader, so I want to do everything that I can to take the writer and the artist's work. They work very hard, and you want to present it to the reader. So it's a relay race. You know, they hand the baton to me, so I have to maintain that storytelling, always for the benefit of the reader. You know, every decision is in service of the story, so that the reader gets their ultimate enjoyment out of it.
Kind of a question that's really good.
Yeah. Do you so Kag says, do you tailor your lettering more towards the art team that you're working with or the story itself?
The answer is it depends. If it's a book with a regular team, then you're thinking of the artist style. You know, you want something that gels with it. If it's a series where you know there's going to be different teams throughout, then you're thinking more in terms of character orientation.
Are there specific comics that really hold a place in your heart that you've worked on, or any projects that you have that are really, goddamn, this shows some of my best work here. You guys should all check this out.
I love a lot of stuff that I do with Jeff, especially like JSA, and you know we'll talk about Ghost Machine later. I mean having a blast working on that. But Jeff and I both have an affection for those old characters. So that's been a lot of fun for me. Also, I had a run of over 100 issues with Jonah Hex back when Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray were drawing that, and that was, I love Westerns, and they were cooking up some tremendous stories. Wednesday's comic, I did a flash feature in that.
Oh,
that was a real treat, because as a kid I really wanted to be a comic strip artist.
Right.
You know, comic strips were the gateway back then into comic books, and that was a real fun project.
Yeah.
And then aside from superhero type stuff, I did SpongeBob SquarePants for a number of years. Actually, with Chris Duffy was the editor, and Chris I knew back when he was an editor at DC on the Superman titles. That I use different muscles on that. That's a more in-your-face lettering. You know, it's a lot of times it's front and center, whereas with traditional comic books we kind of lay back a little bit, except when we have to lean in. But SpongeBob had a whole variety of styles of art, and so I was constantly tailoring the lettering to, as Kai was saying before, to mesh with the art team. So I had to do a lot of thinking. It's a lot of problem solving. You know?
So something that we do occasionally is that we do live reads where we type up a script and we read the characters.
Yeah.
So which you know, it's a lot of fun experiencing a comic in a different way. It's one thing to read it, it's another thing to, you know, an audiobook where you have people it's that. So when you get the scripts, you know, or even when you guys are troubleshooting, like do comic creators, do they how do I say this? Do they do voices when they're thinking their characters? Like if you're talking to Jeff about Geiger, you know, does, you know, and you're talking to him and Gary Frank, who again are always doing great work, and Geiger is just another testament to that. Do they do reads? Do they read them? Do you hear how, like, oh, the character would sound like this? So
they're not acting it out, but I know when I get a script, I hear a voice in my I hear a voice in my head. I hear how I think the beats are going to land. I'm sure Jeff does the same thing.
Right.
Some writers will hit those bolds in their script. Sometimes they'll leave it up to us letters. But for sure, at least, internally, I'm hearing how it's spoken. So I'm not. It's not just a written word for me. It is
right.
It is a spoken word, but we don't necessarily act it out as we're talking.
Right.
Peter Tomasi and I will have conversations on the phone about should we word this like this, and I'm not saying we're acting it out, but we are. Yeah, we're playing around a little bit. I think I do it to some degree with Pete.
Yeah, and then the other question I have is just because what kind of, when you're working, do you listen to music? And if you do, what kind of music do you listen to?
I usually have something on for white noise. I'll listen to a radio show.
Splash
just playing a background in the computer. I listen to Jim Norton and Sam Roberts.
Okay.
They're a New York area irreverent team. Sometimes I don't put music on that much because it distracts me. Because what winds up is I'll hear a song, and then I'll start going to Wikipedia to say, oh, when did that come out? And before you know it, I'm down a rabbit hole and I'm lost.
Yeah, one of our commenters said screaming heavy metal, and I was like, yep, I can see that.
Yeah. Back in the 80s, I might have put heavy metal on. It's more country or southern rock for me these days. But during baseball season, I'll have a ball game on sometimes, but it's just white noise. But if I'm doing something like where I'm doing titles or logo, I can't have anything on. I have to really have tunnel vision.
Zero in.
Well, we had a couple other pages here, Carrie. Did you want to go over these?
Yeah. Okay, so the crunch and the boom, that's the lettering I was asking.
I do love the use of colors.
But yeah, your use of colors in these, but I loved how each one, they have the slightly different. I was pulling these up, like I said, just more to show our viewers examples of the way that you draw the different sound effects and things. And so you have each different action is following what the sound effect is. But like Leigh, if you can go back to the one again real quick from Geiger, that shunk is like a really meaty crunch, like you can tell that there's blood or something going in.
That's right. Yeah.
Oozing coming out, and the different and the crash.
Yeah, that's a Comic Craft font. The other ones on that page are hand drawn ones by me. But yes, you're right. I use for an impact sound effect, I'm going to use something that's more angular. For that shunk, I want to use something that's organic. They're all storytelling elements. They have to fit with the with the sound as you're playing it in your head.
And I think the thing that people don't realize, especially, is that comics are not just the writer and the artist. Like, there's a bunch of other people that are all contributing to make the book, which is why I always find it funny. Like, don't get me wrong, great writers and artists and even editors, when I see a line in a column, I'm like, okay, yeah, totally. Like, they've earned, but like, if I saw you sitting at a booth, just absentmindedly, just doing your thing, just lettering and drawing, or just, I don't know, being at a table eating a sandwich or whatever, I would be like, he's done so much. Why doesn't he have a line? Why isn't people harping the praise? So I think it's just, you guys are kind of, the inkers and the colorists, you guys are the unsung heroes, because, like you said, you take the art and you really bring it to that next level. So, just looking at this here, like I said, watching the flow of the page, just where the letter, where the sound effect is, the coloring,
let's talk about Brad Anderson there, our colorist. What an amazing job he does. He's a virtuoso.
Yeah, like I can hear the crunch and I can hear the boom and the shot, you know. And it's also funny because whenever I type up the sound effects, my brain is like, you got to make sure you get the color right. They put it there for a reason. Get that color right. So, Leo, get the color right.
Well, I mean, you're totally right there, Drew. Like, you know, it's a lot of people don't realize, like, you know, how much we're taking into, like Rob's, art with the lettering and everything. I remember us talking about a while ago a Batman book, and Batman was running through the snow, and and I remember all of us thinking, talking about, like, we thought, we heard that in our head as the action was happening and everything. It really could make or break a book.
And you also have to know when to put it in and when not to. There are people who want to put sound effects in like we're Foley artists. And my attitude is if that sound isn't necessary to the story, don't put it in there. Every time somebody walks down the street, you don't have to hear footsteps. We know how people's feet work. We know they make noise. But there's sometimes when you want to do it, if you're creating a mood, then you put it in there. But it's sometimes the decision to leave it out is better than the decision to put it in.
Right. So somebody had a question about your work. Walter Lever says, has any of your work been featured in Zissa's Barbershop?
Yeah, Walt's a guy that I grew up with, and he and I are going to have a conversation later on. So he's
boy. Someone's getting 2 bits and a haircut.
Yeah, Nick Zisa was the town barber.
Oh, okay. It's funny you say that, because one of my introductions to one of my favorite characters was in a stack of comics he randomly had, and I was like, oh, I'll just read comics where I get my hair. Like, oh, look, Spawn, and then here we are.
Yeah, well, yeah, Nick always had a stack of comics for us kids there.
Yep, you never know, but yes, Carrie, your analysis continues.
Oh, this was just another one where I love the way there's the having the sound effect in the background there when he goes up and tries to punch me. It's just like, oh, well, that didn't work, but the sound just overwhelms the scene. But you have them in front of it, then the bam, once again we get the motion, and then you get the it's not invisible, transparent,
translucent,
with the translucent. Thank you. I usually
Good job,
can't
Jeremy.
speak every now and then, but crunch, so that you can see the background behind it but still hear it. And that's something that I really like that you do as well. You have a lot of the transparent sounds, especially when it comes to big explosions, which if you go on to the next one, I think, Leo.
Well, Carrie, are you expecting some Batman 60s? Pow, zip, zap, zing-ma-ding. Like, don't get me wrong. If it fits, it fits, Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, okay, check this out. You have the zzz at the top of things moving. Down where you have the, it separates the two sections so you can see the extra panel going in there. And then we have the transparent boom so you can see what's coming out of the explosion. And then if we go over to the next one with the JSA, you have, oh, no, Mac. I was just saying on the same thing.
It moves so fast.
The pink, the first one, the boom is of them coming in. So the sound, I'm assuming, this is me just thinking about what you were thinking of when you were doing it. You do see the boom because it's something making a noise. And at the bottom one, the boom is transparent again as they're leaving, because it's just kind of taking it out of the photo. Now
they're disappearing, and so is the sound effect. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure if I was right or not on that, but yeah. So those were.
Yeah, and sound. I mean, like in the first boom, I use those O's to frame the action, just to really give that more importance. They're all storytelling decisions.
I just think I'm really trying to just point this out to all of our viewers, because I don't think people sometimes think about it, and it's like, this is half your comic,
Oh yeah,
to know these things.
At least half your comic. I mean, there are a few comics that have gone out without any words, but like they're far and few between. Like the storytelling is really in the lettering, and it really can make or break a book. How much collaboration is there between you, the artist, the colorist, and the writer? Like, are you guys always going in, hey, I'm gonna put this over here, and so what do you guys think about that? Or is it just like they trust you, go into it, and do your thing?
Yeah, there's a lot of trust, but if they have something specific in mind, either the writer or the artist, they might, you know, the writer might note something in the script, the artist might put something in the margin. I'll do the same. You know, I'll do my my job, and then I'll put people who've worked with me know that I put my little margin notes there about, you know, maybe we could rephrase this, maybe we could split this up. I'll make some decisions too, sometimes to take one balloon and split it up to 2 or 3, because you want to give beats from time to time. Sometimes people are just blurting out words. Sometimes you need little pauses, and there is a psychology about how close one balloon is to another. Your mind kind of adds a pause in there, and so you use that to help support the acting of the character speaking.
Was there ever a moment in your career that's like I guess considered an iconic moment in comic history that you had like a say in, like, you know, maybe you should do it like this, and then they do it like that, and that's considered like you know, you see it on T-shirts or something like that, like essentially something that's like considered de facto history that you got to like try this, or, you know, why don't you do this, or that you had input in that then, you know, epic.
I have no idea.
Good. Nicely done.
Honest answer.
Doing the good work. All of them. Got it.
What actually have you ever had like people that you've found tough to work with in a book, on a book?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, not every team works. There's been times, and usually you kind of realize it yourself. You know, I've asked to come off books.
Oh,
if
really?
if I don't feel that it's a good match, or if they want me to do things that I don't want to do, because, you know, my name goes on the book too, and I want my work to represent, and no hard feelings. You know, I'll call the editor. I mean, it doesn't happen often. It's rare,
right?
But yeah, you know, we're not art monkeys, so if it's not ultimately, we want the books to do well. So if I'm not a good fit for that book, I don't want to be on it. You know, it's not good for the book. It's not good for me. It's not good for the, you know, for the other people in the creative team. But generally, that's very, very rare.
Oh, that's cool.
You've had some dream collaborations. You and Jeff Johns and you and Peter Tomasi are just like you're on the same brainwave. It seems.
Yeah, I mean, Peter and I have been working together for over 30 years. Jeff and I have been working together for well over 20 years, I guess, by now. So there are, you do find that there are your go-to guys. You know, we just play really well together. You know, it's there's no conflicts. We understand each other. We kind of anticipate each other's moves. So those are really healthy team situations, and that makes it so much more fun.
So,
you know,
we have to ask, because it's definitely something we've all read, and I think, so what is it like to be you know, to be kind of within that conversation of Ghost Machine? And when we all read issue 1, and it was just awesome. There are so many good things. But, you know, and your work is featured there as well. What is it like to be part of that? I don't know if I want to say movement, but it's a big change in industry. So what is that like to be a part of that discussion?
I mean, it's incredible. First of all, I mean, this team, it's a murderer's row of talent. You know, everybody whose names that you, from the writing, the artists, the colorist, but also the people that we have behind the scenes. These are people who are all at the top of their game,
right?
And they're good people. You know, they're people I like to be around. Everybody's very supportive of one another. It's such a super healthy structure. from the working standpoint. Now, as far as how we're changing things, yeah, we're looking forward to that. I think it's time. It's time for a shakeup. Past artists and writers have fought for rights for us. You know, there was a day that you didn't get art returns.
Right.
You know, that's just normal now. There was a time you didn't get credited in a book.
Yeah.
Then there was a royalty program that started. So then creators started owning their thing. So this is the next step. Now we own them, we control them, and it's I think it's the way of the future. I think it's got to be, you know.
Well, I mean, Geiger is the best example of that. I mean, Jeff, Gary, Frank, you, Brad Anderson, all of it. You know, you guys released the first book. It sold out like hotcakes. You did the 80-page giant, and then you had the subsequent related series. You had Junkyard Joe. We've read all of them, so you know we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, we read all of it.
Geiger, you know, sold so well. I believe it's going to be a show. You know, and then like you said, Jeff and Gary are, you know, they have the creative control. They have the said, so they benefit if it's a success. They also benefit because they're the co-creators. So, you know, instead of where you get a piece of the pie, you're getting an equal amount of said such pie.
Yeah, this is our pie.
Yeah,
you know,
so
we don't have corporate overlords saying, well, you know, some of the polls say that maybe we should go in this direction. No, we're charting our own course, for good or for bad, you know, and let the chips fall where they may. But we're so stoked to be working together. And what you're seeing is passion. You know, we're so happy to be working on these projects.
Yeah,
and to create something, you know, to create something from the ground up is amazing. We've loved, you know, working on characters, you know, iconic characters, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman.
Right.
I mean, that's incredible, being able to, you know, put your own stamp on it and being part of that lore. But there's something a little extra satisfying about creating something that hadn't existed before. You know, that we are the ground zero,
right,
for our books. And we get to plot our own way. And so far, so good. The everything, you know, the reception seems to be just amazing.
Oh yeah, a lot of good online chatter.
And there's a lot of good stuff to come. Let me tell you.
How far ahead are you writing right now, or lettering right now?
We're already working on the books for the April launch.
Nice.
So yeah, we're cooking, you know, and everybody's motivated. You know, we'll all be together, save for Gary, tomorrow down in at MegaCon. So we're just amped all the time. I mean, aside from just the comic stuff, if you knew how much chatter was going back and forth among us all, you know, this is a solid core of people, and we're really happy to be working together.
Now, I found each story in that, which is really kind of amazing for me. Like usually I'll get in an anthology, there's got to be at least one stinker or something like that. But
yeah,
I was just like, each one, even like this right here, I forget the name of it, but the family one,
the Rockefeller.
Yeah, the story twists so quickly in the first few pages. You're just like, oh wow, this is not what I thought it was going to be. Same with the devil and the angel child. God, my brain is blanking.
Hornsby and Halo. Yeah,
Hornsby and Halo. Yeah, great story. It starts off a little like you're like, okay, you got little kids are talking about, and then all of a sudden they're at a baseball game and kids whipping them around. It was great.
Well, we like to think that there's something, you know, there may not, every story may not be for everybody, but there's certainly something there for everybody.
Right.
And our motto is that the characters have to come first. You know,
right.
We build the characters we want you to fall in love with and gravitate towards these characters. We want them to kind of hit you someplace where you want to keep coming back. And then the stories will come from that.
how big is the universe of Geiger going to be? Like,
it remains to be seen. Yeah, that's
trying to get them deets. Get him.
There's some, yeah, there were little hints dropped here and there about characters that then I didn't see listed on the timeline. I'm like, but what about the historian? I thought there was a historian.
well, I mean, you see the length of the timeline. So there's an infinite possibility of stories, and we hope to be working on this for a long time to come.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting because I mean we've been talking about this because we cover news every week, and we've definitely seen a huge influx of stories from Image, from Boom Studios. You know, people telling stories like that, like you said, Rob, that we've never seen before, and I was like, wow, this is really great. I feel like it's a movement away from, you know, again, credit to the big two. You know, those characters are always going to be popular and
for sure. Yep.
But it's just like you said, it's nice to see something new, something different versus what I like to call the used car idea. It's the same story, but with a new coat of paint. You know,
kick the tires.
Yeah, change the tires, slap in the paint. It's going to sell a mill. And I'm like, will it?
Yeah, well, you know, superheroes are wonderful, but there's so many more stories to tell, you know, so why limit yourself?
Right.
There was a time when comic books were very diverse in genre there, and I guess hopefully we're going back that way.
Yeah.
You know, I want to see superheroes still exist too, but I want to explore these new challenges.
Well, I think that especially what it comes down to is the problem is what was always limiting that is sales. Like we've seen this, a great story, but because it doesn't sell, the numbers don't justify it gets shut down, which is really sad because, you know, there have been some great stories that could have gone longer, but they didn't have the numbers.
Well, I mean, it is a business, you know, so it doesn't have to be made.
No, I know. It's just, you know, like you said, hopefully things will improve.
And you have to find your audience. Sometimes a story comes out that had it come out a few years earlier, a few years later, they might have found their audience. But sometimes it just doesn't work out that way.
It's true. It's true.
You know, when I was a kid reading comic books, if I liked a series, that was a sure sign it was going to be torpedoed in about 3 months.
Now, whose idea was it to put the old ads in here? I absolutely love it. I know it's part of Hyde Street, but this year I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, this is Jeff and Lamont. I believe this was their baby for this spread. And yeah, it's fun. Yeah. Those of us of a certain age remember a lot of the ads that these were based upon.
Totally.
Leo. I mean, what? Yeah, no, Leo. Yeah. You know, that's
you know, there's hints in those ads there. You know, they're not random, so they'll come back to roost if you stick along with us, and I hope you will.
Oh boy. See, Leo, don't go down Hyde Street. You don't like horror.
Yeah.
I got to Hyde Street.
You know,
no, Carrie, you Carrie, you're getting an apartment down there. We know.
Yeah, right.
So Drew, yeah, I don't care for horror, but I do have to say that guy that kicked a dog, he deserved that.
Well, yeah. Okay, listen, if John Wick has taught us anything, don't ever fuck with a dog.
Yeah, well, don't fuck with
whether it's somebody is or a stray, because bad things will just happen to, you know, that or you.
Well, I would say this is our version of that horror isn't like gore and slasher type stuff. It's more playing with your emotions.
The mind.
And speaking of emotions, Junkyard Joe. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was amazing.
And yeah, we read the first thing, and I saw. I love how you guys are personalizing it with your own stories. I read a story about your Uncle Robert, and one tour in Korea, 2 in Vietnam, and he
did he did 1 in Korea, 2 tours in Vietnam. Yeah.
Oh wow.
I think you said that he would land seaplanes by your.
Yeah, so we were talking before about the Berkshire. So the family had a few little cabins up there, and there was a little lake, and he had been known to charter a small a seaplane and I guess surprise people that were water skiing.
Oh yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Out there on the lake, and all of a sudden, oh shit, plane's coming at me.
Yeah, Splash Pages the cruise. Thanks, Jeremy. No, thank you.
And we got to do a lot of good with that book too, because we got to raise money for two veterans organizations, one in the United States and one in the UK.
Very cool.
So we're very pleased to do that.
No, honestly, as the grandchild of two veterans, I was like, wow, this is just hitting all the home. And no, it was just, again, like you said, I was like, I've never read something that really, but again, that's just the credit to the whole team. Like everything in that story was just fantastic. Which is why I also enjoyed the little nod in the Rockefellers. Junkyard Joe is on the big screen. I'm like, oh,
Yep.
Hey Joe, looking good, buddy. No, that was just, again, that was a great story. And that's another credit to you guys. The stories just fly by. Sometimes you're just reading, it's like, oh, Jeremy knows this best because it's for him. Sometimes we judge by how long it takes for him to fall asleep when reading. Not as a boredom thing. He just gets really tired.
Oh yeah.
But it's just
knock me out.
Like Geiger, I read in one night. Like Junkyard Joe, another night. Everything else, I was like 3 nights. I'm on a roll. It's great stuff, man.
Yeah.
You know, so it's really accessible. And then, like you said, you doesn't need like years of continuity. It's like, all right, well, you got to read original Joe, and then there's reboot Joe, and then there's the Joe multiverse and everything. And I was like, just read this series. It's all you need.
Yeah, jump. You got on the first bus stop. You're with us now.
Exactly. I was like, I'm supporting. So
that's
it's just
a good part, actually, because this is a great time to jump on. Like everybody's always like, where do I jump in on a story? I'm like, it's just beginning. Get it? Like, I've recommended it to a few people at my LCS. I'm just like, this is some cool stuff. You got to read. People get hooked on the big two.
Yeah, man. But I think it's also funny because it's inevitable that you can't compare it. Like it's inevitable that you can't compare it to when Image was coming out in the 90s. So, people getting excited, someone like Leo, it's like, oh yeah, no, I remember, when Image was dropping Wildcats 1 and Spawn and Savage Dragon, like this is deja vu for me. Like you guys, like welcome to the new age.
Yeah, there's some inspiration drawn from that, of course. Yeah.
Yes, Leo, sorry to carbon date you, buddy.
It's okay. It's okay.
I was around then too.
So. And Image is our publishing partner too.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
Young and down in the corner there. You got to quit just trying to make yourself feel old. But
yeah,
I wanted to.
She's trying to say respect your elders, Drew.
Oh, okay, cool. So you were saying, Rob.
I'm just saying that I think the last thing I said was Image is our publishing partner as well. So they laid some track and we're continuing on.
All right, cool. So
how did that partnership happen?
It just seems like a natural progression. They had the infrastructure, and they've long supported other artists bringing their properties and then owning their properties still. It just it just seemed like, here's a glove, here's a hand. All right, they work. Yeah.
Jeremy, I think it's kind of the Rick and Morty pitch. It's just like they tell them the idea, son of a bitch, I'm in. So right.
Now, Carrie, I think you're trying to get in there. You had another question?
Oh, I was just I'd also read Blood Tree by Peter Tomasi. And by the way, guys, it just kind of finished its run. Go out and get it. If you don't already have it, it's fabulous.
Got it.
It's this. Okay, fine. Good job. Proud of you. It's a beautiful story with police. It's a police thing with serial killers and darkness and a lot of mental work. And the last picture that I'd had for you, Leo, was what this was about. I'm one of those people who talks to cows in video games just in case something means something. And what we have here are, as far as I was able to tell, 33 somewhat legible different names that have been made from grave rubbings. And I went through and I think I found all but 7 of them as to who or what they are. Because I don't want to ruin it for people by giving away too much, but some of them you can see very clearly, and it's like, okay. I think that we can give away the Joseph Kubert as one, but there were some where these are something, guys, if you want to look in, you really got to dig around. So did you draw all the different names?
Yeah. Pete asked me, he says, this is going to be a wall of grave rubbings. Have fun. so I did. So a number of them I'll let you kind of figure out, and I think you've kind of cracked the code for some of the odder names. But there are some comic related names. There are, Pete and I share an interest in a particular team, so you'll see some of that pop in there.
Okay.
3 of them are flat out made up. I was running out of ideas, so I just made up some names. But I will tell you that the ones that nobody would guess, because they're personal to me, so I put 4 were family members. So you'll see Elizabeth Wilson, who was my mother-in-law, who passed away recently. Regina was my grandmother. Ruth was my mom's cousin, and Douglas was my Uncle Doug, and they're all gone. And they were all very supportive of my career. And if my mom's wondering why her name's not in there, it's because thankfully she's still with us. So I was kind of honoring the people from the past. And then you'll see, playing off of my Uncle Doug, you'll see Jerome, Thomas. Let's see, Jerome Gilman, Thomas Murphy, Joe Farino. They were friends of my uncle's, but they were hunting buddies back when we had deer camp up in Massachusetts. And those men are all gone. Jerry was a character. He owned the radio station up in upstate New York that I designed a logo for years ago. And there's a couple. Samantha was my cat when I was a kid.
That's a really cool way to homage people, honor people. Be like, hey man, they're now forever. Maybe not everybody knows who they are, but like they're forever in this book.
Yeah, I know. It's my way of, they're touchstones. They're people who meant something to you in your life, and this way they get to go on. There's some things like that in the in Ghost Machine 1 in Peter's story. But yeah, I like to throw little Easter eggs in there now and then. Sometimes for the fans, sometimes for just inside baseball type stuff. But never anything that's going to embarrass the company. Some guys get a little carried away and they'll do a little editorializing in there, and I won't do that. Anything that I put in there is benign.
No politics or anything like.
No. You want everybody to read. You want everybody. You don't want to isolate anybody. There's enough of that. Let's find some common ground.
So. Since you're going to con tomorrow, we're at the end of our hour, but I always want to know, do you still collect anything? Do you still pick up books while you're at con? Or
I don't. Like yeah, there are comic book creators that devour everything. I read what I work on, and then I'm on to the next one. I'll flip through stuff just to kind of get a temperature of what's going on. But I've sold all my comic books. I had 30 long box. I can't. I used it to buy some property, so it all worked out. Give somebody else their enjoyment out of it. I had my fun with them, so it's time for somebody else to have them. But I'm glad there are people who are collectors, and I'm glad there are people that are readers. Obviously, but for them, I wouldn't be here.
Anybody else with the last question?
No. The last question I'm going to have for you is, we talked about, your career, and it seems like you work a hell of a lot, and you're no longer collecting comics. What do you do mostly on your spare time? Like, to unwind? Are you a gamer? Do you, read horror stories? What do you do? I'm
an outdoorsman. So I'm certain seasons I'm hunting, I'm fishing, hiking, kayaking. A big passion of mine is wildlife and nature photography.
Oh, nice.
And I do a lot of that. So yeah, there's two new Instagram pages. One is Rob Leigh Comics, which is I just started. That's my comic life. And then there's Rob Leigh Outdoors, and that you'll see more of my photography in that. But yeah, I want to be outside. When I'm in front of a couple of computer monitors, to the point where I'm worrying what it's doing to my brain. So I do like to get out and get some fresh air.
Okay.
Sorry, I lied. Last question. So what type of camera are you using?
I'm shooting with a Canon, a 7D Mark II.
Nice.
And hopefully this year I'll be going to mirrorless. I'm thinking the R5.
Nice.
Ooh, I'm looking at the R50.
Oh my God, Leo.
It's like, let's call up each other on the weekend, Rob.
Yeah, exactly. All right, listen.
I did talk my camera and a 100 to 400 lens with my con stuff, so I might be able to sneak out and maybe get some bird photography in.
My God,
very cool.
Well, Leo, listen. Yeah. Okay, when he's not lettering comics, he's Ron Swanson. We got it.
Yeah, I got a little cabin that I'm building. Yeah, I'm out there.
Yeah, he's enjoying the outdoors, preserving life. Enjoying his breakfast.
We'll let you go, Rob. Before we do, where do you like people interacting with you on social media? You mentioned your two Instagrams.
Yeah, that's the best place. I have a Facebook page, but there's a lot of family and friends in there. So I've been a little apprehensive, in this world of social media. I've seen relationships blow up, so I'm trying to compartmentalize my life. So I'll have my private Facebook page, but for fans, the best place would be fans of me and comics would be Rob Leigh Comics on Instagram.
You got it.
Very cool. Well, thank you again so much for your time tonight, Rob. Absolute pleasure.
Yes.
And we wish you luck at the con tomorrow.
Thank you very much. This was a lot of fun.
Same here. And I promise to coach you through it. On the very bottom, there's a Leave Studio button. And when you hit that, it should tell you to go to an uploads page. If you miss it, don't worry. What I'll do is I'll send a link after the show so that you can upload your audio and video. So if you hit the wrong button, don't worry about it. You'll get a link a little later.
Okie doke. So I'm leaving the studio.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Have a good
Take care, folks.
Thank you, boss.
That was awesome.
Okay, Leo, what is it with you and just asking questions at the end? Like, are you start a newsletter? Like suddenly,
Leo,
oh my God,
right
so you use the camera and what lens are you using? Yeah. My God, are you doing black and white or sepia? I was like, oh my God.
Hold on. So we still got a ton of people watching right now. So the show is not over. We still got a lot of comics we're going to be talking about. So definitely stay with us. It's definitely going to be a lot of fun. We promise you. And yeah, I apologize for the last questions.
No, it's fine. Buddy,
Leo's
like busting your chops. It's just funny.
I got all wordless, and I'm like, and look at all these pictures. I liked yours, and I just liked them, so I wanted to.
You know what it is? I think someone's gonna talk to. I probably Jenny's gonna talk to Carrie and be like, "Is Drew okay? He was really quiet during that show. Like I felt like you talked the most, like you and Jeremy." And even Leo, he was very quiet.
Carrie got to have another fangirl moment here on Splash.
Carrie defines fangirl moments.
That's right.
Nobody researches like Carrie. She goes in.